Going to be going to wholesale your way out of your 9 to 5 job. I'm currently streaming on Facebook. Shout out to everybody watching me on there. Usually live is when most people catch me on FB, and then also streaming on YouTube as well. So most people who catch a replay will be on YouTube. So shout out to you all guys for catching me, and and in my Facebook Build a Scale group. So if you guys are watching me on there, hey, shout out to you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and get started here. Hope everybody is having a fantastic week so far. These weeks are going by. We're already in June. And I'm just going to discuss, like, if I were to get started in wholesaling, like, what would that look like? You know, if I were to get started in 2022 or 2023, because in 2021, 2020, I mean, I go all the way back to 2015. So a lot has changed, but it's interesting because the pendulum is always swinging. And it seems like the pendulum is swinging back to more, I would say, pull versions of marketing. So we're going to discuss that, like marketing, what's working, but really a very macro view because things have changed, guys. And if you're doing the same stuff that you were doing, like, you know, even 3 years ago, last year, like things have switched, and you can find yourself wasting a ton of money and barking up the wrong tree. If you're going and viewing a lot of antiquated information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you all here. And I'm going to start just typing out some notes. If you guys are watching me, wherever you're watching me, feel free to drop in the chat here. These types of things I do, I enjoy doing for one, right? Let's see. Okay, you guys can't see me. Cool. So I enjoy doing, and I feed off of you guys' feedback. So if there's any feedback that you guys have, let me know. So this is our little graphic we have today. Got our little man. He's trying to climb his way up this little scale here to get to the coin. So let me take a hit of this. So guys, if we were to wholesale our way out of 9 to 5, what would that look like? So I actually am qualified to talk about this because, guys, I legit, it took me exactly 1 year to leave my 9 to 5 after I started my wholesaling company. So I started my business in January 2015. February is when I sent the information off to the Secretary of State, and it took about 2 months to get that back. Back in the day, it took 2 months to get an LLC filed, at least in South Carolina. If you were doing it yourself, if you're using an attorney, probably quicker. But online, it's so quick to create LLCs now since they put their Secretary of State sites online. So all that to say, guys, around January to February is when I started my company in 2015, and I basically worked 2 full-time jobs. My full-time job in Fayetteville, and I considered my wholesaling company another full-time job. I put another 40 hours into that between the weekends and after work. Thankfully, I worked a job where I was able to work a flexible schedule. And this is another thing, guys. Let's just go ahead and talk about like best practices for running your wholesaling business and working your job. Something has to give. All right, so something has to give over here. Let me zoom in here for you guys. View, zoom in. Okay, so that's okay, cool. Let me know if you guys want me to zoom in more. I can always do that. Oops. Okay. So best practices for running your wholesaling business. Guys, something has to give. And the name of the game is sacrifice. There's no workaround for this. For me personally, guys, I sacrificed the spare time or my time off to hang out with my coworkers. You can ask anybody that worked in Fort Bragg, worked in the Hunter Airfield with the Special Forces, right? Was an intelligence analyst. You can go back and ask anybody I was working with as a military contractor what their vibe was on me. They'd probably say that guy was distant. completely different from right now. I was distant, I was unplugged, I was disengaged, guys. Why? Why was I distant? I did not want to be forced to work overtime. So if I'm going out and I'm hanging out with the boys and my coworkers at happy hour at 6 p.m. and they need me to work overtime on the weekend, and that's the time I need to drive for dollars, guys, just think. You think that's going to go over well? So I already had it. I already knew before I started that job, I was going to be doing real estate because I got the job in December 2014, right? And then in like October 2014, one of my good friends who passed away now, shout out to Sean Green, he gave me tickets to go to Fortune Builders, my business partner and I at the time. So I knew in October that was coming up in, there was like a one day event, and then they upsold us to the 297, which I was cool with. So we got 2 tickets for $300. Went to the event with like 300-400 people in there, but that was in January. So we had to wait October, November, like 3 months, literally 3 months for that to start. We were like, dude, we want to start wholesaling now. Or really real estate. We didn't even know anything about wholesaling. We just knew, we thought we were getting into flipping houses. But during that seminar, that weekend seminar, they actually told us about how to wholesale houses. You know, how to, they taught us about creative financing, flipping houses. Obviously, when we didn't have the coin back then, it was really imperative to get started as lean as possible with as little money out of pocket as possible. So wholesaling was the thing that piqued our interest. So we left that event not being able to buy the Fortune Builders program, but guys, it lit something underneath us where we were like, hey, this is at least the way that we can see out of our 9-to-5 jobs. So it was actually good that I knew the assignment before I even started this job because there were no games being played. And I don't know how I feel about this to this day. You know, I'll be honest, if I tell you this didn't like bother me, it didn't like hurt my feelings or upset me. It just let me know that, okay, I'm going the right direction with this. It was actually interesting. There was a lady, a young lady there. She was in her like 20s, early 30s. She built a house. She was having a housewarming party. And we had about 25, 30 people that worked in our office. Guys, when I tell you everybody got on the email thread to go to that housewarming party except for me. I'm talking about the old guy who was an interpreter, who was like 70 years old, who didn't even speak English, who was from Egypt, got invited. And he, you know those people that you invite in the office, you just invite because, and you know they probably won't show up. They knew he wasn't even going to show up, but he was on the email thread, and so they were trying to be like all shifty and quiet around me. I was like, God, I don't give a flying F. In the net, they didn't know, but within like 2 months of them, I ended up quitting that job. I already knew. By then, I already wholesaled. So while I was working my 9-to-5 job, I wholesaled 3 deals. Yeah, I wholesaled 3 deals. Yeah. So yeah, Mm-hmm. And I was working my 9-to-5 job. Right. And I'll tell you the timeline. Here's my timeline, right? And don't let anybody pressure you and tell you that you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, guys. It's all about what works for you, right? And hopefully this will allow you to, to see what's possible here. Even now, it's a lot easier now. You just got to be smart about it, especially if you don't want to waste that coin. So here's my timeline. Got my job in December 2014. Went to Fortune Builders in January of 2015, right? And it was like the first week, which was awesome. It's like the first weekend because, the new year comes, and then that first full weekend, we were like in like the seminar. It was like really cool, guys. Like reliving it right now. Those are good times. Good times. Okay, and then it took me. Okay, I'm just gonna keep it simple here. June, I think it was July 2015, I got my first deal under contract. Okay. And then August 2015, I closed my first deal, and it was $3,000, right? 3K. Boom. So, right. So it basically took from fortune builders to basically like 7 to 8 months to close my first deal. So 7 to 8 months, just depending on when you count my start date. You could start at either when I started my LLC or when I started marketing, so I would just say 7 to 8 months. But so that's what it looked like. And then it took about, okay, so it was August, September. It took 2 months to close my second deal. And this was a lot in the worst neighborhood in Charleston. All right. So I think we made like 5K on that. No, I think we made like another 3,000 assignment. And that was 1990 Delaware Avenue in North Charleston at C 29405. This one was um, so this was 1917 Quitman Street, and that was in North Charleston too. At C 29405. All right. I want to check and see if we have any questions so far. Yeah, hey, this will be available later. Okay. Well, I'm not sure if that's actually from now. Okay, cool. Let me just check on Facebook. It's like my first time or second or third time using the streaming software, guys. Oh, hey Nathan, how you doing? Oh yeah, and Tim. So I see you guys. So I'm gonna delete that one right here. Just delete this. Delete that post. I went live before this, just for like 30 seconds. Okay, yeah. So Nate Moore was asking me, will this be available later? Yes, sir, it will. So usually after I stream these guys, if you give them about 30 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, it'll stream later, right? And on YouTube as well, guys. So you could just search my name, CC Garland, and it'll be on there as well. Okay. And hey, guys, actually, I should have. Now that I think of it, this is for the people that are working 9 to 5 job. I'm streaming this in the middle of the day, guys. I'm gonna be honest. I'm so like disconnected from the 9 to 5 world, and just to tell you a little bit about what I love about being so on this end. So I'm 7 years, 8 years in the business, 7 years officially doing this full time, living off of real estate full time. No, not working a job that guys never clocked in. The most I've done has been consulting, and also I did up until like 2019. I did some work with the post office, but that was like twice a month, and it was with the government. So, but outside of that, guys, this has sustained me. So, and it's very possible. So, I'm one of those type of people, which is why I like being real with you guys, regardless of how big my name gets or how big the stage I get. I'll make sure I've gotten a big head before. I'm not gonna lie, but I always make sure I keep it real with you guys. And you guys see that I'm like a real person, right? With everybody, I hope you guys do 48 laws of power. You want to keep some things, some trade craft close to your chest, but deception and telling you guys this is happening when that's happening, that's not what I'm going to do. And I'll be honest, guys, because I'm about to go here and show you guys how you can actually fund your business, basically. So guys, let's talk about that. Funding your business with a 9 to 5, right? I'll save that for later, right? I'll probably make this a series, but that's something I want to talk about because you could do consulting like I did, and to pay for your marketing expenses, right? You can sell leads to realtors, right? So like, let's just say you get retail leads, you get to sell them or do like do a percentage split. But this just requires you to stay on top of them. So it's all what works for you. So a lot of this stuff, I don't like having to stay on top of people, but if that's you, you know what I'm saying, and that's not like a big issue, that could be something you could do where it's like, hey, you give them like all your retail leads. Let's just say you gave 10 realtors like 30 of your retail leads, guys. Then guess what happens? You follow up with them, and once you follow up with them, guys, they may have closed those properties without you, without knowing, behind your back. But for the most part, if you stay on top of them, they'll tell you, hey, this deal looks like it's closing. Hey, we got this one under contract, and you can circle up with them, send them like an agreement, a market referral agreement, or however, whatever vernacular your attorney uses on the contract to get you paid, and you get paid out of that transaction. Not as a realtor, guys, is very important. That's one thing that you don't want to say is if you're not a realtor, you can't get paid as one, but you get paid out on the HUD as a marketing referral consultant, right? So marketing referral consultant. Right? That's something I've done. I've made quite a bit of money doing that, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to my notes here. I'm gonna minimize this and just start getting back into this. So a little recap, guys. So we're talking about our best practices for running your wholesaling business and while working your 9-to-5 job. Something has to give, guys. Remember, there's sacrifice here. You only have so much time, right? I love you guys that can go from the sun up to sun down, but even you all are limited with how much you can do in a day when it's just you, especially if you have kids, guys. That's something I don't have experience with, guys. I just have a dog. I know there's no comparison there, other than both like waking up in the middle of the night sometimes and having to feed them or something. But other than that, guys, really, it's something has to give here. And for me, it was a personal time. It was no personal time because I got the vibe around my office that they were going to start asking people to work overtime very early on. Or with my career field, there was deployment potentially stipulation in my contract agreement because I was an independent contractor, right? I worked for the federal government, but I was a contractor. So I potentially had to deploy. So one thing I did was as soon as I went there, I made sure I had my best behavior. I was on my best behavior. I looked my best. I acted my best. I didn't play around. I wasn't about the jokes. And I ended up making a name for myself and a reputation for myself where they basically just left me alone, right? I basically create my own job for myself where they would send me tools to audit. And it was so crazy because there'll be people that work in the office and then they would go off for like a year and create their own tools, like their own software to help the military out. And then they would sell it back to them. So you'd see them in like a uniform, and then the next couple months you see them come back with a software to sell. And that's smart because they identified the gaps in the military, and it was lucrative. But basically, I audited those tools and told them which ones were worth bringing in and which ones weren't. Because basically, what I did was I monitored social media. So I monitored social media back then. ISIS was a huge threat to see if they were like threatening our people and stuff like that. So it was actually a pretty cool job. The only thing that sucked was I worked in a windowless room and in a SCIF. SCIF is a secure facility, so I couldn't bring my phone in there, which sucked too. Limitations, guys, with your jobs. For me, I couldn't bring my phone to my work, and I couldn't log on. We didn't have regular like MacBooks. We had secure computers. We didn't have the regular internet in there. We did, but you couldn't go on regular websites. So we had JWITS, which was like the top secret thing, and then you had the CIPRNet, which is your secret internet. So I'm going on a tangent here. All that to say, guys, for my job, I had to go outside at lunch, and that was my time to learn real estate. Guys, when I tell you I took hour breaks, the hour breaks that they gave me, I never, outside of the first couple of weeks, I rarely went to lunch with the people there because I would go to Arby's or Subway, I would sit there and listen to Bigger Pockets podcasts. I didn't really communicate with my friends. I didn't really communicate with my family because they were all dream busters. Yeah, I'll say it. Wanted to bust my effing dreams. Oh, you can't do this. We just got foreclosure on our house. Guys, isolation. Isolate yourself. Protect yourself. consciousness. I mean that, guys. That's been the biggest thing for me with not working in a 9 to 5 job, to be honest. Um, Not working a 9 to 5 job and being out of 9 to 5 job. I own what I think. Guys, I own what I think and who I allow to invade my thoughts. Because guys, this is mind control. Everybody's trying to influence somebody else. Think about influence. I'm trying to influence you now. Hopefully in a positive direction, but most people want to influence you in a direction. They don't give two F's about you. They just care if you pay them, most likely. Right? So I'm on a mission out here. You know what I'm saying? Like this right here isn't a stage where I'm at, but it may be the stage where you're at. And let me know if this is resonating. So guys, protect your consciousness. If you have an hour for lunch, you may have to say, guys, I'm not going to go. I understand some of you guys are supervisors and stuff, but isolation is really going to be the key. For me, that did. For some of you extroverts, that may not work. And you may need to find somebody to do the day-to-day business with, or the back end part of the business, because your gifts may be centered around communicating with people, networking. That's cool. And that leads me to a next point, which is why let's just go to our steps one. Not quite yet at step one, because there's so much stuff we have to get to before then, guys. For me, I tell you this: should you partner? I'm going to tell you guys, if you partner with somebody, it's going to make your life a lot easier. But you need to find somebody with complementary skill sets to yours. What do I mean by that, guys? You need to find the yin to your yang. Yes, guys, you need to find the yin to your yang. So if you are horrible at organizing, at keeping stuff organized at the technical part of the business, at Excel, right? That's a big one. With troubleshooting software, with knowing how to troubleshoot things, with problem solving on your own. My friends, you may, and I found this to be the case with a lot of people out here in the real estate industry. You know, you may need to find somebody to help you out with that, because you're going to have a big gap that needs to be addressed. And this may, you may be one of those type of people where you're like, hey, I can sell to anybody. I can contract a seller all day. I love talking to sellers. Guys, I love you guys because you're the yin to my yang. But to be honest, there's more of you all than there are me, right? I'm a little bit of an anomaly in this real estate industry because I'm like a technical specialist. And there's been 2 other people I've met with my personality type. My personality type, I am an INTP, right? So I'm an introvert, intuitive, thinker, perceiver, right? And the people that specialize, that do really well in this industry, are almost the opposite of me. They're extroverts, intuitives, feelers, and judgers. So this really is the better personality type to be running a business, to be honest. I have really, when I look at it, I look back at it, I really had no business fulfilling some of the roles I fulfill, which is why I learned basically every role, and then I figured out what I was good at and focused on that and outsourced the rest. It just happens to be running a real estate company, guys. Really, it's not fit for my personality type. Now I am grateful now because I've basically been able to meet people along the way, and I'm able to outsource most everything. Like 90% of my company is outsourced through employees and partners and JV partners. But when I first started, it was difficult because I just had my business partner to lean on. So he basically did a lot of the boots on the ground work, a lot of the networking work. If I said, hey, this has to get done, he was like, got it, done. And that helped me because I basically was funding the operation because I wasn't making a lot. I was making around this amount net, around $3,000 net. Once I got my raise, I was like, dude, this isn't enough money at all. I was spending about $1,500 on the business a month. Starting very early on, probably around April. And what I was doing was just driving for dollars back and forth when I would drive back and forth between Fayetteville and Charleston. And that didn't really work out well. You really have to spend a lot of time doing that. I was trying to do it on a weekend, and I would write 10 letters and think I would get responses, and it just didn't work out. So all this is before we get to step one, it's for a reason. Really, I want you guys to really know, hey, is this for me? There could be one thing that I'm mentioning here, and that's the only thing you have to do to adjust to then get to yourself to a position where you are actually you're able to take off. For some people, it may be, oh, you know what? I might need to get a business partner. For other people, they may say, you know what? I do need to spend a little bit more money on marketing. I know what changed for me was when we actually said, hey, we're going to put a direct mail campaign together. We were driving for dollars and doing individual skip traces on people for months. So starting in April, then May, June, and then I think July is when we did our direct mail campaign. Literally, guys, it was a grind. Every weekend, we were going back home, looking at crappy properties, trying to skip trace them, trying to find a seller. And it was like we were investigators. And that effort is admirable, but guys, we need to be focusing on volume. Very early on, I was like, okay, I need to focus on volume because I got fixated on certain sellers. Like there were like certain sellers I would get fixated on. I'm like, oh man, that deal's going to close. That deal's going to close. And then when it closed, and you're banking everything on that. So I would just say off the bat, make sure that you're just focusing wide. You don't have to focus statewide, but if you're focusing on an area, like just say, hey, I need to be hitting all these counties versus this neighborhood. And I got lucky, guys, hitting one neighborhood, but it was a neighborhood nobody else was interested in Charleston. Nobody, guys. And the only reason why I was able to get interest in it was because there happened to be somebody in that neighborhood wanting to buy up all the land. So it worked out perfectly for me. So you may get lucky, blessed, whatever you want to say. I did, for me, I feel like it was just a fact. Just it was going to happen just because I was just putting the work in. Even if I was going in the wrong direction sometimes, I think just putting the effort out there allowed me to, I made a lot of action, right? And when you need some stuff to go your way, you're going to throw everything at the wall and see what fits, basically. And that's what I did. So I'm not saying every step I took was right. It just happened to work out this way. So I want you to hear what I'm saying and just be able to take what works for your story. If it doesn't relate, throw it out. Okay, guys. So it took me 2 months to close my second deal. And I think I only closed 2 deals, guys, now to think of it, in my first year. And what actually got me to quit my job was once I contracted 26 lots. And I think that was like November of 2014. Now, here's the thing. I'm not 14, 15 rather. And so here's the thing. This is the deal I decided I'm going to quit my job. Or I guess this is when I decided I was going to quit my job. And I should have waited before the deal closed because it took up until March for that to close. And guys, January through March, super stressful. One of the most stressful times of my life. But had to make it work. Right? Had to make it work. And I think between then, we might have wholesaled like 1 or 2 lots between then. I think, if I'm not mistaken, right after that, 2016, I wholesaled a $15,000 deal. So we really got going. Once I quit my job, guys, it was like crazy. The momentum just started picking up. But guys, here's one thing that I have to say. I got to be honest here because I don't want any of you guys out there, how old, you guys' wives, husbands, mamas, daddies, kids coming after me saying that, guys, you got to be strategic about it. I knew I had some momentum by fall of 2015. It felt like things were going in the right direction. We pretty much figured out how to do our direct mail campaigns to get leads in consistently, albeit they were like sporadic. They would come in like this, but it would at least be consistent. We knew how to send off direct mail to get leads, right? We knew roughly the amount of money we needed to spend to get that. So I sort of knew what I was doing at that point. That first deal taught me a lot. I learned a lot about just certain attorneys to work with, right? Which attorneys are conventional attorneys, which attorneys are pro investors, right? There's a difference. Your buyers, vetting your buyers, that was something that I learned. We had some buyers that came out there that were trying to like nickel and dime us on the price. They were like, this is the lowest we can go. And I was like, I had to go negotiate with the seller because the buyers wanted to pay me 10 grand and I had it under contract for 10 grand. I was trying to make 13 grand on my first deal, the one on Whitman Street. So I had to go to the seller to renegotiate. So guys, there was like a lot I learned on that first one. My closing attorney was awesome. I realized the benefit of having a great closing attorney because albeit he didn't work with like wholesalers, he knew what we were trying to do. And the buyer was actually Spanish. His last name's Ortega, Spanish speaking buyer. And he was about to walk away at the closing table because he didn't want to pay the closing costs. We didn't know anything about that. So guys, guess what? I'm over here and stressing out that the deal's not going to close. I didn't go to that one because I was in Fayetteville. My business partner did. I'm stressing out that the deal's not going to close. And my closing attorney's like, hey, you know what? I'll cover that. So $700 in closing costs, he covered me. So guys, the thing is, if you're going in this direction, I know it may seem like your back's up against the wall with anything that you're doing in life, but really, if you're just pushing forward, it's interesting how things move out of your way and things come in your way. They come in your way in a positive way to guide you, right? So that's why I think it's very important not to focus on step Z, right? Maybe A through C and just get started. Because once you start focusing on steps D through E, F, guys, you're going to get so overwhelmed you may throw your hands up and say this is impossible. And that's actually the way people get weeded out of this industry too, because I've seen a lot of people come and go. I've also seen a lot of people in this industry like follow me, and when I came in, and they still haven't wholesaled the deal. So what's up with that? All right, guys. So let's go ahead and see. So how are you guys doing? You guys doing great? So, hey, Nettie K from YouTube, how are you doing, my friend? Get to some of these comments here. Put these on here. Take a little breather. One thing you'll get from me too, guys, is just the real deal. Like, I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things or tell you stuff. Leave things out. I've noticed people have left things out to hype people up. Like, I'm going to strategically leave this part out. Like, I forgot to tell you guys, you do have to have at least $5 grand for marketing to start. Just to get people hyped and excited. I'm not like that, right? I wish this was stuff that people told me back in the day. Now, I mean, I could tell you guys about a few resources. I want to take a little break from my notes here. So let me stop sharing my screen here. So let me tell you guys about a couple of things that helped me out when I got started. Definitely bigger pockets. Okay. Your education is going to be very important, guys, to make sure that you don't get scammed out here. Like, seriously. And bigger pockets is a great place to start. Facebook, I don't know about that, guys. And I would definitely choose your niche first. And if you guys want to add me on BP, you definitely should. I'm going to be getting back on here and doing some great stuff on here. Because, guys, I can go back to my first post in here if I go to my profile. And this is how I learn, my friends. This is how I learn. And, I mean, really, I've learned basically by collaborating with people. I'm being honest, guys. Facebook is all right, and it may sound a little bit ironic because I'm on there, but I put in those hours on BP. And most recently, this is just stuff I was doing just to sort of get back to people and encourage conversation. But if I go back to all my posts from like 2000, this is 8 years ago. And so this was like on a post that I did on a course that I bought. Okay. So this is when I started talking about, I was interested in skip tracing my return mailings. I think it's so cool that they have all this stuff here that doesn't get deleted. So this guy was like skip tracing return mailings. I was like really big in direct mail then. And yeah, I said those are crazy high prices. I'm curious what services are charging that much for just for a phone number and address. And guys, they ought to be ashamed of themselves unless they're doing an in-depth search like a debt collector would. The most I spent was $6 in search when starting out. Now I've gotten my data lower at a rate since I do a lot of my entries in bulk. And so, guys, we back in the day, we were spending like $10 per skip trace for some people because we were using a company called Find the Seller to find people. We didn't have batch skip tracing. It got to $1, and we thought that was great. But even then, it wasn't. You weren't able to bulk skip trace them. So this is another thing too, guys. Just make sure you're getting up to date information and you're checking me out on Bigger Pockets. But seriously, guys, Bigger Pockets is the way. I encourage you guys to search your forums. So let's just say, hey, on this topic, getting started with a 9 to 5. I'm sure this has been talked about a lot, right? And going back to 2006, I usually like going in here and filtering by the date. So usually I'll go up to like a year ago because some of this information is irrelevant. And I like connecting with people that are actually active. Most of the people are inactive that from back then. So hey, I would love to invest in real estate. Would it make any sense for him to buy a home himself and for me to buy a new one, right? So that's one good place I would start, guys. Let me go back to Restream and stop sharing my screen. I'll go back to my notes. So let's go get into the meat of this dialogue, guys. Why are we here? All right. I'm going to talk about steps one with getting started in real estate with your 9 to 5. So once you check all that other stuff, guys, this is what we do first. I know I talk about marketing, guys, but you want to get your LLC started. That's the first thing I would do. Why? Why? Okay, LLC starter, and I would get a domain name and open up your business bank account. Right? I'm gonna put all this in like step one because this is just like admin stuff. Why? Why? A lot of people say, "Oh, you don't need that, guys. You don't need any of this." But you know what it does? It makes it seem hella real. It really does. When you get your EIN, your articles of incorporation back, and then when you're on an IRS site, you get your EIN for your company. It's like, okay, I'm doing something. I'm doing something. And so this is what I'm talking about here. So this is for a corporation that I no longer manage. But I'll show you guys this. Okay. So this is for a corporation that I no longer manage, but I use a company in Delaware, this Harvard Business Services. And when I got this back from this company, I said, "Oh my gosh, it actually seems so like legit." And I'm like, I'm a business owner, and especially if it's your first LLC, it's a big deal. I've opened and closed businesses several times now with different people and with myself, but just getting it back, guys, it's actually a big deal. So I would get that to start off with. You don't have to use a third party. You can do it yourself. You could do something like this. Go to your Secretary of State. So I'm going to go to my Secretary of State and see. I know this may seem basic for some people, but I think it's good talking about the basics too. And I know there's a lot of people that have followed me in the last year or so, and I was going deep into like the franchise, like build to scale model. And I think it's good to rehash this stuff for my new folks. So you'll do here, guys. And if you want to start a company, only thing you got to do is start a business, right? Whatever state you're in, you'll do that for your state. So if you're in New Jersey, you'll do New Jersey Secretary of State. Guys, I'm telling you, so much stuff is so much easier. I feel so old talking about this because sort of like when I started, there was a lot of stuff that was offline and was making it transition to online. It's done this since 2015, but I literally had to go to the Secretary of State site, print the stuff out, make guys. I was stressing out. It was my first time I did it, and I literally took, I think it was like 3 days, double check it, triple check it, because I had to print it out, get it notarized, and then send it to the Secretary of State. And it took about, I think, like 2 to 3 weeks for them to get back to me and verify that my company was, verified. It was good and all the information was right. But guess what, guys? That info had to be right, because if one thing was off, one letter was off, if I forgot to sign something on there in the correct spot or in the correct name, or if I left my business partner out, guys, it would have taken another 2 to 3 weeks. All that to say, guys, is let's not. I just want you guys to know the speed that you're able to do this is like amazing. And there's things and there's hurdles, and there was hurdles I know that I probably didn't have to go through that somebody 8 years before me that went through. But really, when it comes to really starting your business and stuff that matters, speed is like crazy these days. And the fact that you can do stuff online is like still surprising me. So if you want to register your business, you register it online. I think it costs like 150 bucks, and you'll log in here to do all of that. I think I have a company here. My company's not in in North Carolina, but you'll basically go through that and do it there. Super simple, and it'll take you a day to get that information back. All right. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me on this live, or else I'm just going to keep on going on, guys. Finally, I'm going to get to the first step here. All right, or get back to it. So, guys, start your LLC. I would get a domain name. It could be something like this, and business name ideas. Okay, it could be like mine's Garland House Buyers. That's my current one. My first company was Holy City Homes. I'm in Charlotte. You could do Queen City. Home buyers has probably been done. Best home buyers, or add another qualifier in front of there, not like best premium, A to Z. You don't want to get. There's no need to reinvent the wheel here, guys. And you can always ask OpenAI. And I use OpenAI. I don't use ChatGPT. So I don't know what y'all heard. OpenAI is what's up. And that's actually the backend for ChatGPT. So let me open this up here. And I'm just going to go and show you guys what I would do. I use a playground. It's just a lot quicker. Chrome tab, playground. Okay, cool. Give me 3 names for a house buying company, wholesaler, or house flipper. Yeah, just wholesaler. Or house flipper. For wholesale, for a house buying company based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Boom. Look at Queens, Charlotte cash buyers. Okay, so I can say, can you give me a name that is also available on the Secretary of State website for LLC registration? 10 names that are available. Okay, give me 10 names. Okay, so sweet. Guys, stuff like this, don't expend your mental bandwidth on. This is how I'm using ChatGPT. What do I mean by that? I only have so many mental credits to give in a day. If I have 100, I'm not about to use 10 to exert or 20 to exert to figure out the name of my home buying company. I can use that critical thinking ability for something else. This is how I use ChatGPT or OpenAI. I use OpenAI because it's quicker and there's no bias filters on it, from what I can tell. Okay. So the Home Team Investments LLC, Flourish Realty Solutions LLC, Realty Express, High Flyer Realty, Lucky 7 Properties, NC Home Discounters. So you can, I don't like discounters, but you can see NC Home, Home Buyer, that's probably done before, Home Buyers, Retro Real Estate Solutions, Carolina Coast Investments. I like that. So I'm gonna see if one of these is available. Okay. So let's go back to Restream. Or not Restream. Let's go back to the Secretary of State. And let's see if I like the Carolina Coast Investments. Let's see if that's available. All right, guys. Search for business. Company starting with I'll do starting with Carolina Coast Investments. Okay, so that's actually available. So you can do guys. It could be as simple as doing Carolina Coastal Investments. So check this out, and that's totally fine. Okay, so the Carolina Coastal Investments again. So you could just play around with these. And honestly, OpenAI, I don't think it's connected to. I think it ends in 2021. I'd be hard pressed if they knew what companies were available. But this is basically brainstorming and inspiration. Only thing I have to do is just put these in and see what works, see what doesn't work. So that's good. So you can do NC. You see NC Retro Real Estate Solutions, right? Or retrofit or something like that. Lucky 7 Properties. It doesn't even have to be home buyers. Something that sounds good to people, right? I like that. Lucky 7 Properties. Look at that. That's actually a pretty good one, man. Okay, so I'm going to Namecheap now. Give me 1 second. Gotta make sure you guys can see where I'm at. I'm just gonna show my entire screen with you guys. So I'm going to see if Lucky 7 Properties is available. Looks like it might be taken but inactive. Look, guys, look. Oh, well, no, luck. Boo. Let me actually edit this. Lucky 7. Yeah, it's taken, but it was registered. Let's see if it's without the 7. I love doing this type of stuff, guys. You can mix it up. You can do lucky 8, or if Queen City's known for a certain number, or your city's known for a certain number, right? Let's just say you're in Chicago, lucky 23 properties. Everybody knows 23 in Chicago. Why? Michael Jordan, so something to keep in mind, guys. And then you're going to go to the Secretary of State and register that stuff. Okay? All right, so let me go back to my notes here, and I'm going to hit you guys with the next step here. Okay? So step 2, let me check my notes here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. All right, so step 2, guys. After that's done, and these are principles, guys, that have have held sturdy and true for my business. We need some marketing. Like, guys, no kidding. No kidding. This is what saved my business. In 2015, I'm not kidding. I didn't realize how important it was at the time, but it was everything. It was everything. So, what are some ways you can market with a 9 to 5 job? Right? You have limitations on your time, income. I would just say time, income, and network. I would say you should not do this. Post on BP, Bigger Pockets, or Facebook, or a mentor. Guys, you're a walking mark. I'm gonna be honest. Somebody will look at you and say, okay, right, either pay me and I'll teach you, or what if I have my own real estate investment company and I'm doing this full time and I'm successful, why do I want to have somebody who's new around me? Unless I'm a complete narcissist and I just want to like use your energy source to drain you and to build me up or something like that. Or you're like, I want to hit on you or something like that. I'm like, what's in it for that person? Like, you gotta be honest, guys. Like, what's in it for that person to take somebody in underneath their wing that has no idea what they're doing and teach them real estate? Out of the goodness of my heart, guys, there's other things you do that are less stressful, that are less stressful and with better people. And I'm just gonna be honest, I could do something with like dogs as a nonprofit if I want to do something out of the goodness of my heart. So that type of stuff doesn't work for me. Like, so unless you're paying that person, like, don't ask them. I wouldn't do that. You're gonna like end up just frustrating yourself or getting scammed. So what I would do is I wouldn't do this. I also wouldn't try for dollars. I wouldn't do that for your main marketing strategy. It's just, it takes so much time, guys. It takes so much time. You're chasing the sellers. Okay, let me tell you what goes on here. What goes on? You're chasing the sellers with your driving for dollars. You have to research the property, make sure that it's wholesalable, right? Meaning, I'll put quotes around this. Right, what does this mean? This means that the property has some sort of like characteristics that allows it to be wholesale, right? So if it was refinanced in 2015 for the maximum, or well, let's just say for like 90% of the property's value, there's nothing there. There's nothing to wholesale. The property has no equity. You see? So it's just like you can find a house and you'd be like, oh my gosh, the house was boarded up. It has like code violation stickers from the county on front door. The mailbox, all the mail's piled up. The grass is overgrown. Man, that's a house. And guys, you can get excited and you can find 10 of those houses. And you could go home to your research and find out that all of them, and you actually have to do your due diligence beforehand. And I started doing that beforehand. I found that it was just like too much work. And I found that most of the properties weren't even worth mailing that I mailed. So I'm over here driving around all day, spending my Saturday driving around and my Sunday, finding properties that look decent. And then I go to look them up and they're not wholesalable. They have no equity, or there's 20 people on the deed. Guys, wrong answer. You can wholesale that, but guys, we're trying to get the paper today, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. Not 2 years from now. Yes, I've made money on those deals, but those deals, honestly, guys, that have been so much work and so much effort veered me off my course. And really, by the time I closed them, I put 3-4 months of effort in the deal, mental effort, stressing about the seller, stressing about the property, stressing about the people. Oh, is that relative going to agree to sell the house with that price? Stressing about, is something going to come up in the title search? Is there a judgment? That's going to make this property or eat away at all my profit. Is the seller going to get weird? All this stuff, guys. You're taking into consideration when you're trying and you're putting everything on this and you don't have a lot of time, you need to focus on scale. So how do you do that? Right? It's putting a marketing campaign together. Now, the great thing is, guys, you get dirt cheap numbers. They may not be good, but you go to somewhere and like Data's app and get really cheap numbers. And then you can go to PropStream and you have the ability to pull 10,000 records in there, guys. And this isn't my ideal tool to use on a day-to-day basis. Serious wholesalers know, guys, but we're talking about just getting a deal. You could pay $99 to get 10K records, right? I wouldn't suggest that because you got to know what you're doing. But you can do that with that. And then you also use something cheap to skip trace it. So you use like Batch or Hilo, my company, right? And that's like 12 cents to skip trace your records. Okay? And you don't even have to target each of these. You don't even have to market your whole list at once. So let's just say you are getting paid bi-weekly, right? You're getting paid bi-weekly, then you can skip trace half your list your first week, you get paid, and then half your list the second week. Okay? You don't have to do it all at once. So it's looking at, hey, what do I need to do now just to get me through the week, right? You need to do marketing. So if you're doing your marketing right, and you're doing your texting, I say you should text. I like cold calling, but texting is the best way. You can check those you could be texting sellers at your job. I like cold calling, but you can be texting sellers at your job. Now know that you're going to be doing blasts are probably the best way to go. So step 2, guys, text blasts are probably the best way to go. And sending off, I would say maybe like 200 to 500 texts a day. With some tools, you can get your messages sent and received for like a third of a cent. So if you use Twilio or Plivo, these softwares integrate with Batch leads, and Batch is great for texting. Okay. Those are my notes there, guys. I'm going to check and see if I have any questions that came up, and then we'll get back to it. Okay, nothing there. Looking good on Facebook, looking good on Twitter. Okay, all right, I said Twitter, guys. On YouTube. Okay, guys. So yeah, I'm going to go in probably for another 10-15 minutes here, guys. And I might do steps 3 to 4 tomorrow. So stay 4 and 5 tomorrow. So I'll just do one more step. Okay. So guys, we need some marketing. Your best bet is probably doing Batch or doing PropStream to pull your list and doing Batch or Hilo to skip. Or Batch or REI reply to text. Guys, it's that simple. So you're probably like, okay, what to expect? I would say 0.2% motivated seller response rate. What do I mean by that? I mean, these are people that come back and say, yes, I want to sell. Which is why we need volume. So if I'm pulling up my calculator right here, I'm doing this off screen. So if I am sending out 500 messages a day, I multiply that by 0.2%. So I'm doing 500 times. Let me just go ahead and share this with you guys. Okay. If I'm doing 500 text messages a day times point, look at this, 2, we're going to take 2 zeros in front of that, and then we're going to put 2. I can expect one solid lead. Not when I say a solid lead, I mean somebody that's like, hey, yeah, I want to sell. And it's sounding like you can work with them, sounding like the timing's right, sounding like they're cooperative, sounding like they're in the right ballpark, sounding like they want to have a conversation with you. You're not chasing them. Guys, if you have 5 of those a week and you give 5 offers a week, guys, and you're getting half of your offers accepted, which is not out of the realm, guys, you're getting 2.5, let's just say 2 contracts a week. And let's just say 1 closes, or you have a half of a 50% deal closure rate, which is I'm at like 60%. So like half of my deals close that contract. But you have 4 properties under contract because you got 1 offer set in a week, and then let's just say 2 fall out, or 2 deals fall out in escrow, and that's happened to me, guys. I literally had 2 deals fall out. I'm mincing my words here right now. I had 2 deals not closed, basically. They didn't close, and that was in Georgia, Macon, Georgia, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, and that was like last week. I was expecting them to close this week, but guys, we had 9 properties under contract, and those were 2. So we have 7 other properties under contract right now. And that's between me and all my JV partners. So guys, like, when in doubt, contract the property. When in doubt, contract it. Just make sure your contract looks straight so you get out of it if you need to. And there's nothing wrong with that, guys. Nobody can force you to buy the house. You can force sellers to sell, which is why I might be in the middle of that and suing the seller here. But that's another conversation for another day. So 2 guys. So you expect 2 deals to close. And this may not be, we marketed on June 1st, and by June 30th, I'm going to get 2 deals to close. I look at my months and when I do this per month, I really look at like a 30 to 45 day window, So, I can expect if I contract a property today, within 30 to 45 days, it'll close. Okay. Or no, if I start marketing today, within 30 to 45 days, I will get a property under contract. I misspoke. And then I'll give myself probably another 2 weeks to close. 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks. Yeah, it's to the point in some of the markets I'm in, it's like taking a month for some of my stuff to close. But I'm a little bit more outsourced with my company. So I'm not like stressing about the deals on a day-to-day basis. There's stuff I can probably do to move it forward, but I found that that's just that's not the best way to spend your time, energy, and effort. You guys have any questions? Because if not, I might go ahead and wrap this up. Oh, I think I did tell you guys I was going to do one more in step 3. So I'll do that, and then I'm going to finish it up. Hey, while I'm doing this, any questions you got, any comments, let me know. Like, it could be even be to say, hey, what's up, my guy? And I'll give you a shout out. I'll post you on the screen. And I really do appreciate you guys taking your afternoon and evening with me and spend this time to learn a little bit about real estate. It definitely motivates me having people on these lives. Okay, so my friends, step 3. What am I going to do on step 3? So we already talked about creating our LLC. Boom. Step 2, we need some marketing. All right. Step 3, what am I going to do? I'm going to find buyers proactively. So what are some of the things that you can do to find buyers proactively? I'm taking it back, guys. I direct mail my buyers. I do this to this day. I'll go in, Investor Travel Toolbox, our prop stream, pull a list of cash buyers. I'll do the people that have bought 5 houses in the last 12 months. LLCs only and that's one thing to really to take note of. when we're pulling lists for buyers, it's LLC only. When we're pulling lists for sellers, it's individual only. So here's an example right here of what that looks like when I look at my criteria. Open this up. So here's my criteria. So right here, I have individual owner and list source. I think it says the same thing, but just know, and in prop stream, I think it says the same thing, but just know if it says company and you want to include them, exclude companies, only individuals, guys. So when you're doing sellers, individuals only. I know there may be some situations where somebody says, oh, well, I bought 20 houses from an LLC owner. Okay, hey, you go and pull your seller list with nothing but LLC owners, and I'll see you at the finish line, right? We're going after what the norms are, guys, not the exceptions to the rule. Just tell you what the norms are. All right, so let me go back to my notes here. So I direct mail my buyers. And here's something that you could do. What do the letters look like? I can, if you guys want me to tell you what I put on those, I can. I really try to keep it very simple, but the main thing I want to do here is to get a lay of the land. I want to know what the market is to its core. I found the best way to get an understanding of it, of your market, is talking to buyers. So I actually get excited about this part, and this is one of the parts I did in my company. Up until then, right? Up until recently, I've handed off the dispositions part of it, but right now, up until 2020, I talked to all the buyers and basically was the dispo manager in my wholesaling operations. So I want to know what the market is to its core, and buyers aren't going to lie. They have their pulse on their market. We're talking about your cash buyers, not retail buyers, because cash buyers, they know what's going on because they're beholden to, or well, they go to hard money lenders to get their money. So if their hard money lenders are like, hey, we're only buying stuff at 50% of the ARV, which is crazy, or we're only lending you on anything that you get 50% of the ARV. So let's just say you have a house and the ARV is 300K, they'll only lend on that if you get it under contract for 150K. My guys, that's telling you something about the market. And the cash buyer would tell you, yeah, we don't even buy in this area because the lenders aren't even lending on properties built here or built in this time frame. There's little nuances you learn about the market only talking to cash buyers, and it can save you a ton of money on your marketing. I'm not kidding. I would be doing this simultaneously. So if you can swing it, guys, if you can swing it, maybe you only pull a 5,000 record list in prop stream, and maybe you pull another, 1,000 records in prop stream for your buyers, for LLC buyers. So maybe for sellers, 5,000. And if you need to stretch your budget, do 1,000 for your buyers, and then you can send off 1,000 text messages. Guys, I found direct mailing buyers is really the best way to approach them. And you call me old fashioned, say what you want, but I found that mailing cash buyers and waiting for them to respond to you is extremely professional and a great way to start the relationship off. This wasn't that big of an issue when I first started, but it definitely is now, guys, since phone numbers are so accessible. These cash buyers are probably going to they probably get mad with you guys texting them deals just out of nowhere that aren't really fitting their property criteria. They're going to be checking their mail because they're checking for the tax statement, stuff from the county. Like in the real estate industry, you're like a snail mail junkie because you're waiting for checks, waiting for stuff to get back in. So some days I'm like, I have my eye on my P.O. box. So these guys, you'll find that you'll get a pretty decent response rate. And if anybody's calling you, they're not going to call you and say, take me off your list. They're going to be like, yo, you actually sent me a letter. I've had so many good conversations with buyers over the years because of how I basically approached them. I approached them professionally and with a postcard. And I wasn't spending a lot of money on these postcards. They were like little postcards. I think I may have sent letters once, but that was overkill. It was like postcards saying, hey, I'm a new wholesaler, basically saying I'm a new wholesaler in the area. I've got off-market properties. Hey, would love to work with you. Give me a call at XYZ. I think I sent off, every time I did that, I sent off 3,000 mail pieces. And I would get about 10 to 15 buyers from that, which is good, guys. Solid buyers. Buyers to this day that are calling me, and I haven't been in Charleston in years, guys. So that should tell you something. I want to see if I can find my cash buyer qualification form. There's a form. Give me 1 second. There's a form that I use whenever I was calling my cash buyers, and basically allowed me to yeah, okay, so here it is. Allowed me to qualify them really just easily, and so I wouldn't sound like a bumbling fool on the call. So let me share this with you. All right, cool. All right, let me zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. View. I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit for you guys here. Okay, here we are. All right. Okay, let me know if you guys are having trouble seeing that. Okay, so this is my cash buyer qualification form. Let me remove that. And so I knew I had a call rail number, and whenever my buyers would call back from the number I put on the mail piece, all right, and man, it'll be so cool if I could find my mail piece. I'm going in my Google Drive now, seeing if I can find that. Okay, no, that's for my cash buyers. I'll find a mail piece I use for my cash buyers. But for now, let me view this form for you, show you guys this form. So when they respond back, I would have the phone number there. They call 843-123-4567. And I would know on call rail that would be a cash buyer number. So I would know automatically, okay, if I was in my car, okay, not to pick up, right? Or I would say, hey, can I give you a call back in like 10 minutes? They say, yeah, sure. I'll call back in 10 minutes or whatever. I got back in my computer. Just so I wasn't caught off guard. Same way that you guys have tracking numbers for your sellers, I have tracking numbers for my cash buyers, right? For qualification. So whenever they will call back, I would pull this up. I would, exchange pleasantries. Hey, how you doing, Alfredo? Man, doing great. Da, 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 da. And then just making sure I got your email, or just making sure this is the best phone to reach you at. It's like, yeah, hey, can I get an email for you in case we get disconnected? Yeah, man, it's da 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 da. Boom. Once I get that information, then we're going into the actual meat of the conversation. Guys, this is perfect because I'll tell you, I was able to start wholesaling deals in my head as I was qualifying people. So while I was doing my marketing and my marketing was getting going, I would be asking people, well, hey, I had a property that came in from direct mail. I wouldn't give them the address, but I would give them the street. It's off of, Squirrel Avenue. You do anything over there? Yeah, man. But only thing I don't like about that area is there's a lot of properties that have like over 20K in work. I try to, keep it around 20K or under. This is important stuff to know. I'm tweaking my marketing in the process because I may go in my direct mail campaign and next time say, I want to eliminate any properties that are like, I may want to put an ABM bottom on that and say, I only want to target properties that are worth $50,000, right? And above. Because if I'm in the hood, I may get some houses that are worth like 20K that my cash buyers may not even want to work with, or the ARV may not justify putting 20K in the houses. So this is like really good stuff to know. And this is education, guys. You're educating yourself along the process. And I'm making sure, I'm telling you this too, because when you're doing this, even if, guys, it takes you like 7-8 months to get your first deal, you're going to be a complete wholesaler by the end of your first year, where you're not going to have to worry about, okay, well, man, when a cash buyer comes in, what do I do? you're acquiring all these skills starting off, right? You're acquiring all these skills. It may seem like it's frustrating, like you're like, man, I want to do this real estate thing. I don't know why it's not working. Guys, put in the reps on the right things. That's what I'm here for, to tell you guys the right things to focus on. Because there are right things and there are wrong things. You know, there's a lot of noise out here, especially in the last 5-6 years, guys. A lot of noise. A lot of noise. I'm gonna be honest. What always has put me back on track whenever I've gone off my course has been focusing on the fundamentals. And the fundamentals center around marketing and networking, right? Marketing, networking, really marketing and follow-up and networking. Really, that's it. And networking with buyers, marketing to sellers, networking with buyers, marketing to sellers, networking with, I go on and on. Do those two things. You're going to wholesale some deals. Guys, you may find some cash buyers that pay you. Guys, this is how I got into consulting. I had a cash buyer and he was like, bro, this deal's insane. Guys, I was like, okay. He was like, can you put a direct mail campaign or something together for me? I was like, oh, sure. I charged him $7,000. This was in 2017. I had no idea what I was doing, but I knew more than him, and he was willing to pay me. And guess what? It was slow that month, so I was able to sustain our marketing, our wholesale company. I was able to eat. My business partner was able to eat. You know, I was able to learn how to generate leads because this guy handed me $7,000. We did a great job for him. I think we generated like 20 leads, which was a lot back then. It was difficult, but we did our thing, right? But he was so desperate to do that, it created an opportunity for me because he saw what I was doing and he was competing on the MLS. And that's really what started me on this marketing path. I was like, bro, if people will pay me for marketing, I'm like 2 years in this thing. I think this is the thing I need to learn, which is why my company is CC Garland Marketing, right? That's the basis and the foundation of real estate investing. You don't have to spend a ton of money. Just start off. You just gotta educate yourself, right? You gotta educate yourself first and foremost. Okay. So my segues here, guys, or not my segues, I keep on getting off the path. But I hope this helps. I hope this turns back around in some sort of way and completes the picture here. I'm super passionate about this stuff, guys. And I'm very serious about this. This ain't a joke. So if you don't hear me like joking or you hear me emphasize stuff, this is my livelihood. This is how I was able to leave my job and never go back. Guys, I'm not leaving anything out. Yeah, shit was difficult. It was very difficult sometimes. Oh man, some days not a lot of days. Some days it was very hard, but you just push through. And these are things I had to learn as a man, honestly, anyway. And I had to learn as a young entrepreneur, right? Just how to navigate certain things, how to deal with difficult times. My threshold for difficult times is a lot more higher now. Like I got a lot more thicker skin. You know, things don't really bother me now, which is I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that I'm at this point in my life. All thankful to real estate. So much stuff that I can say, guys, I've learned and just real estate has given me. And that's right, real estate has given me. It's taken away a lot when deals don't close, but it's given me a lot. So guys, just to briefly go over this type of form, if you guys want this, just let me know. Drop a comment in the description, or not the description, drop a comment wherever you're watching this and let me know. But this basically is a form that I basically committed to memory. The biggest thing here, I would say, the 80-20 out all this, is you just want to make sure that they're legit. I go down here, I ask them the source of capital. This is just to make sure they know what I'm talking about. Somebody's brand new. I'm like, hey, do you use hard money or private lenders? And they're like, what are you talking about? I probably don't want to wholesale a deal to them because, guys, remember, your neck is on the line, your reputation, your website, your Google My Business reputation, your rating, all that stuff's on the line. Your reputation with your closing attorney is on the line. If you're opening up a whole bunch of transactions and not closing them. So now, when you have a deal, that's not the time to experiment with buyers. I want to get a feel beforehand. And most of the deals that I wholesale to buyers, rarely are they with like new buyers, right? I mean, really now with Investor Lift, yes, but when I first started, I wasn't taking a risk on new buyers. I made them jump through hoops. One other thing you can have them do, guys, and I do this before they go out to the property with new buyers, If I give them the lockbox, they have to send me their license, a picture of their license. I used to ask them for their social, but definitely a picture of their license. And they have to text me when they leave the property if I gave them a lockbox code. That's just for security. If somebody doesn't want to do that, they're not the real deal. They're trying to mess around with you. So guys, buyers are a dime a dozen. Don't get held up on like certain buyers. Now, good buyers are very hard to come across, but cash buyers that can get the job done, they're a dime a dozen. I would say great buyers that you can depend on, that know and empathetic about what you're going through too. I've had some buyers that were like, hey bro, like I know, like, this is a deal where you're probably I honestly need to get it for like $88,000, but I know you've been working this deal for like 3 months and you need to get paid and you bring me good deals, CC. Hey, I'm going to cut you 4K into this. I can't give you like 5K or 10K, but here's 4K. Hey, keep up the fight. Guys, I've had that happen before. Guys, there's no workaround for building solid relationships. And it's just being able to vet and know who's worth your time. That's really the challenge. That's why I put systems in place, because as you scale, you're going to get a lot of people that just want to take your mental credits, mental bandwidth. I only have like 2 time blocks in my day in a 24-hour block. And those are 5 hours each. After this, I'll probably do a little bit of work and then take a nap and wake up and maybe go out or whatever. But really, it's like my morning time block, and then I nap in the afternoon and my evening time block. This is my evening time block. So I can't have a lot of people just draining my energy. And initially, I looked at it like, oh man, these like if I would have talked to myself now, like if I would have met myself back in 2015, now I would have been like, man, that CC guy, man, he's straight to the point. He wasn't nice. He wasn't friendly. Guys, learning business. This is all about the dollar and time. And so just make sure you keep that in the forefront. It's all about your time. Time is like the enemy to scaling, because especially if you're working a 9-to-5 job, you have to have systems in place that you can manage. And when I say systems, it's not stuff that you can pay for or super complicated. This is a system, guys. This is a system. This is a very simple system, but a time-saving system. Rather than, imagine if I sent off a direct mail campaign and any number that called, I didn't know who was cash buyers and who wasn't. Right? Even if I missed calls from cash buyers in the day, if I was working, I was caught up on another project or doing something else, I know I could go on my call rail, which was at the time, it was like $50 a month. And that was worth it to see which cash buyers called me. So if somebody called me and they're like, hey man, I got your direct mail piece. Hey, would love to talk with you. I actually am buying now. I got like $1 million to spend. I need to buy 5 properties before the end of the month. Hey, let's talk. Boom. Imagine if I didn't have call rail set up. I just had to go on a voicemail. Imagine my voicemail was filled. I wouldn't even know that person called. So those are what I mean by little affordable systems, simple systems you can put in place to save yourself time, energy, and effort, guys, and frustration. I'll tell you, losing time, losing money, and losing motivation. Those 3 things have been not single-handedly, but the trifecta for causing a lot of investors to come in and out of this industry. And then you get excited. I see people get excited. They're like, man, I was wholesaling in 2015 or in 2013. I'm getting back into it. And then they're doing the same thing, or they're inundated with information. There's more information now. So they're even more inundated and they're even more overwhelmed. That discourages people, guys. So, if you guys found this helpful, and you guys, not even yourself, I know a lot of people that follow me, you guys got it together. And this stuff is good for me to teach, just to keep me like solid on the fundamentals. And for my audience to hear. But I know a lot of my audience are mature. So if you guys know anybody that this will help out, please share. For me, guys, I don't really do a lot of like marketing out there either for my business. It's like all organic. Like that's basically how I sustain myself. So if you guys know anybody that needs help with like cold calling, lead generation campaigns, I'm your guy. I also do list pulling. So if you guys need any help with that, you guys can get an absentee list. Guys, I want to provide the best of data here. The best data, best quality stuff. I'm doing them myself. The only interaction you're going to get from my team is just my assistant who collects some information for you and sends you the list after I gather the information and she pulls it for me. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. That right there those 10,000 records could get you upwards to 3 contracts, depending on the market. Because I do my thing and make sure that we're going to a market or an area in your market that's actually feasible to get absentee leads. Because we can get absentee leads, but the absentee leads may not be in an area where you have buyers. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, guys, I really enjoyed this. I'll probably hop on here tomorrow and chat with you guys. It was great communicating with you all and sharing this time with you all.